So what is Jesse Lee Peterson really thinking about as far as racism goes? Now, if you don't know who Jesse Lee Peterson is, he is a conservative pundit, a minister, and he hosts his own TV show online. The Fallen State is one of them, and then the Jesse Lee Peterson Show is his radio show that he also broadcasts online as well. And he's an African American, and he does speak to black people, but not in the way you think. Okay, he speaks for black people, but he believes that racism isn't real. He'll just come right out and say it. And it sounds crazy at first, but if you think about it, we're coming from Martin Luther King Jr. translation of it. What Martin Luther King says that when he said in one of his speeches that he had a dream that one day his 4 children wouldn't be judged by the color of the skin, but the content of the character. And what that means to me is, if you compare that to what Jesse Lee Peterson is saying, is it's mainly our responsibility as African Americans to judge ourselves not by the color of skin, but the content of our character. That means when something happens unfortunate to us, or when we get treated in a certain way that we don't like, it's up to us to judge the situation by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. So to say that, oh, I was mistreated by an officer because I'm black, or this happened to me on the job because I'm black, that's judging ourselves by the color of our skin and not the content of our character. It should be our responsibility as African Americans to judge ourselves by the content of our character first, instead of the job of other people, people of non-color. If we don't judge ourselves first by the content of our character, then we can't trust anybody else to judge us by the content of our character. It's always going to be by the color of our skin, especially if we're blaming our world problems on the color of our skin. And the best way to overcome that is to make racism not even a reality in our generation. And that's why I find it very fascinating and appealing that Jesse Lee Peterson doesn't even believe in the concept of racism. And think about the mindset that he has. Think about how it expands his mind and his worldview. He's able to deal with his problems in life without having to address racism, because it's not even something that's real in his life. And I think what we need to do, as you know, what people need to do everywhere, especially African Americans, is learn to live a life without the idea of racism, and learn to address our problems without going straight to racism as the problem, because that's not the real problem. It's not even real. It's the questions that we need to be asking, the conversations we need to be asking, is not about how can we solve racism. It should be about how much value can we put in the lives of the people that are around us, and how can we improve the quality of our own lives as well as the quality of other people's life. So when you're listening to Jesse Lee Peterson, and when he says outright, you know, there's no such thing as racism, racism isn't real, listen to what he's saying. It's not necessarily the words that bring the most impact. It's the fact that racism in itself isn't even a part of his own belief system. Therefore, he's not controlled by it. If something's not a part of your belief system, then you're not going to be controlled by it. No problem. So definitely listen to Jesse Lee Peterson, what he's saying. And I learned a lot from him, honestly. He's like, I look at him like a father figure to me. But Jesse Lee Peterson is on point. He sounds a little crazy because the way he articulates things is very controversial. But if he was to frame things up in a very nice way, then nobody would really be paying attention to him. He's got to rock the boat a little bit to challenge us, to get us to respond in a certain way, even if we're angry at him, in order for us to really process what he's saying to the fullest potential. And that's what's amazing about Jesse Lee Peterson. Hey, if you get value out of this video, If this helps you understand him or just racism in general and how we need to move forward as a society as far as racism, then like this video, comment, share, and make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. I'll be putting more videos up about social justice in the future. But my name is Jonathan, and this channel is the Common Sense Warrior channel. I named that channel very specifically because we have all these social justice warriors out here, but nobody that's willing to fight for common sense. And there's so much common sense in what Jesse Lee Peterson is saying if you just really pay attention. Once again, like, comment, subscribe, share. Have a good night.